Hey, coming up on today's podcast, episode 160, we're going to talk about the recent bridge collapse and its economic impacts in the automotive industry and around the globe. We're going to bring some news to you about how Ken Block's legendary empire that he has built is going to be carried on. And you might be able to get involved in a little auction going on and own a little piece of history there. Going to talk about the Fisker plummeting stocks and why that's occurring and some speculation around that. We're going to get into the new 4Runner coming out. It's exciting to see Toyota bringing this one back. It's a refresh coming soon. And we're going to talk about the DeLorean NBC Universal lawsuit and the outcome of that. All of that right after this. Hey, everybody, welcome into the podcast. Please welcome in my good friend and co-host, Keith. Keith, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man.
Good. Good to see you.
I gotta say, good to see you.
Glitch-free.
I feel like I'm forgetting something. Like I'm having this moment. I'm like, did I press record over here? Did I press record over there? And I think everything's recording. And I as best I could tell, I remembered to dress myself.
You look cool to me.
If this podcast ends up coming out and like you can only hear one of us or not the drops, or I'm having this sort of moment of kind of panic anxiety that I'm forgetting an important detail. But
I don't know, man. I think you're doing okay.
The levels are moving.
Yeah, things look fine. It's a lot better than the last one. And as we told our fans the last time that we're trying out a new piece of software. And again, I cannot stress to you guys enough that we do go through this due to growth, but thank goodness Keith is on my team, man, because without him back there pushing those buttons, we would be still sitting on the moon. So not coming back home yet.
Speaking of the moon, I know I told you off camera that I was not going to have time. I watched the first. It's a two-parter.
Ooh.
I watched the first hour, I guess you would say, of the final season of Star Trek Discovery last night.
I've watched the first hour as well.
And Red Directive, right?
Red Directive, that is correct, yes.
And what did you think?
I was a little underwhelmed.
Honestly. This is going to be one of those rare moments when like we don't agree.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting a little bit more right out of the chute than that, but I haven't seen part two of...
Nor have I, yeah.
So let's give... I'm willing to... And when I first started watching this series, way back season one, it started out a little slow for me, but then it was like when you started to get some of the cross-pollination of the original series and Picard getting involved and all these different aspects, kind of putting the whole picture together, if you will. That's when it really started to blow my mind. I have no doubt it's going to be great.
I'm so excited that I made up my mind. This is going to be my final podcast episode. I'm joining Starfleet. Like I've got the hat on and like I'm moving on.
I love it.
I feel like I just want to join Starfleet after this. So
can I come along for the ride?
Well, sure. I mean, you can up too, but so first of all, I didn't think it was perfect. For a moment there, I was like, and let me just, you guys, if you haven't seen it yet and you plan on watching it, there's going to be a couple spoilers here. Maybe jump ahead about 5 minutes in the pod. Mash the 30-second skip button.
Or close your ears for a minute or whatever.
I felt like I'm not going to give anything huge away, but are we really to the point where and I guess this is Star Trek. I guess they have pushed innovation the entire time since the beginning with Gene Roddenberry in the original series, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I felt like, are we really to the point where we're just like making our spacesuits sort of magically appear on us and we beam outside and then we beam inside and they just turn off and there's no suiting up? Like, are we there?
It would be nice if we were.
I mean, I guess that's where they're. But then you think about it, like that first episode was really like a movie. They introduced like a Star Trek movie. They introduced the villains. The plot starts to unfold in the first chapter, but the first. Why am I drawing a blank here? Not movement. That's music.
Okay, you're getting highly.
But
So-
most there's three parts to most plays, and
Yeah.
okay,
I get it.
So part one was like
Part one.
Yeah. Okay. And then, and this is not the first time that Star Trek has done this. Okay.
Right.
They pull a plot line that's going to be the plot line for the entire final season story arc.
Right. Well, I'm having an equipment problem here. It's just-
From season 6 of The Next Generation.
Okay.
So the one, and they showed Picard on screen. You probably saw that. Just a brief moment. It was a clip from The Next Generation, and they showed Picard.
Yep.
That was from an episode called The Chase. And it was, as they tended to do in the 90s,
Right.
it was a very groundbreaking topic. They introduced it in one episode. It was very thought-provoking. It was somewhat controversial from a sort of evolutional perspective. And then they moved on. Like, they never went back and visited it again. The entire rest of The Next Generation.
Right.
Okay? And so that's a gold mine for writers today, because they're like, well, we'd had this great idea and we shot an episode on it and it was pretty involved. And there's always Romulans, Jay. Like, the freaking Romulans are just, all they do is exist to just mess with stuff, right?
Absolutely, they do. Them and the Klingons.
So, but I would argue, at least your own, with the Klingons, you know where you stand, right?
Yeah, truth.
The Romulans are just the shysters of the universe.
They are,
Okay.
man. They're the back. They're the ones meeting you in the back alley, man. Put it that way. Yeah.
So the progenitors are the entities that were introduced in The Next Generation in this episode called The Chase. And that is who they referred to in this episode from the final season of Discovery. And the progenitors basically they created all the humanoid races around the universe.
Right. I remember that.
Okay. And then they just dropped it and moved on in the 90s, because that's what we did, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's going on here, is they've got all this information that basically is the power of creation.
Right.
That the progenitors hid, and from the Next Generation series, they hid it in like DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But now we got this Romulan guy that cracked the code and wrote a diary, and we got this diary, and we're trying to. Okay. Yeah. So here we go, man.
So that's the setup.
Yeah.
Then you have the confrontation.
I mean, they're going big. Like, this is a huge storyline. Like, this is movie script stuff.
It is good, man. But sadly, this is the last season for this, so we shall see. Maybe not. I watched an interview with what's her name?
Shaniqua Martin Green.
Yeah, that's it. On CBS, and it was really good. She's such a great actor.
She
man.
was completely different in The Walking Dead. Like, it's completely different. Yeah.
And I haven't seen that, and that's what I heard. In fact, they were complimenting her on that, at how she can get into character.
Yeah.
And no matter what it is, how good she. Anyway, that is a signature of a great actor. Period, and we know that. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm excited for it to be back. I mean, honestly, I think I set my day up around being able to sit down. That was the last thing I wanted to do last night, was to put my AirPods in, man, and then hit roll, baby. and just really sink my teeth into it. I had a couple of good beers in me, man.
So
that was good.
What was it that let you down? What could have been better, right?
I needed a little bit more of them tapping into just kind of a catch up. Bring me back to where we were, say, mid-season last season, the last season, and go and bring me back up to speed, and then dive into this. So I don't know, I just kind of almost felt like I was jumping into a whole other realm of what this was. And again, they did that. I almost felt like I was watching season 1.
Yeah, it's an abrupt shift from kind of where they left things.
Absolutely.
Previously.
And that was so for me I was really hoping to catch back up where we left off.
Oh, they ain't got time for Well,
and
at least you didn't say more lasers.
There you go, man.
Did you see in the clips? Did you see at the end where they go coming up on the rest of the season kind of deal, and they show you a little bit of what's going to happen throughout the season? Did you see that part?
I didn't.
Okay. Can I there's just one thing that I think it's okay.
I think once it got to that point, I'm one of those people where I can skip past that and I'm okay.
Okay.
And so, but you can tell me. I mean, I'm fine.
Well, I was trying to finish my gin and tonic, and I just let it go. I didn't want to dump it. So
I'm not alone in this, man. You drink a gin and tonic. I had a couple of beers. I was perfect. I had eaten some lasagna earlier.
This could go. I mean, we could go. We have so much going on. We don't need to start another, but we could do Mystery Science Theater, Star Trek. Anyway.
Or are you talking about another podcast?
Yeah, no, I'm not going. We're not even going to go there. But
okay.
Tig is back. They showed a clip of her. In this, because she wasn't in the episode 1 unless I fell asleep and missed it. Right.
No.
She's back. I freaking love Tig Notaro.
Yeah.
I feel like I can relate. I somehow just have this she gets away with being a sarcastic dick all the time.
Yes.
And I get it. I want to be that person in real life. That's why I love her character. Her in general. She does that in stand-up also.
Yeah. Come to think of it, as I was getting up and moving away, I do recall seeing her face pop up. So, and a lot of the other ones that had kind of stepped away for a while and you didn't see much of them. So, yes, I did.
And one more thing.
I liked her, man. I like her
great.
style. I'm with you on that.
I feel like, and I don't know why I dialed into this, but I at some point did. The first couple seasons of Discovery take place there's hundreds of years. They time travel, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's at the end of season 2, they go to the future and they're still there. They stay there. And they've been there for 2+ seasons now. Right? So you're dealing with kind of a complete paradigm shift of kind of how Starfleet was in the past, a couple hundred years back, or 1,000. Is it 1,000 years? It's a long time. They time travel.
It's 800 years. I think it's.
And then they jump forward, right? And that throws you off because it is a completely different feel of the show. So that might be part of your kind of discombobulation. Right.
Yeah, it could be. I just kind of the whole relationship thing with Saru and I forget
the Vulcan.
The
You're
Vulcan.
Not into that?
No. I think it's cool and everything, but I just.
Do we need it?
It was just right. That's what I'm saying.
That's how I feel about Tilly. I feel like, and I know I'm gonna catch hell for this because people are they're fat shaming her, and I'm not okay with that. But her character was a completely different character in the beginning, and I feel like they don't have a use for her now. They kind of just are. It's not her fault. It's they're just, where does she fit in this story?
Right. I mean, they basically, they put her, they sent her back so she
was going to teach. Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of like you shelve the character for a while, right?
Well, and now I just feel like it's gratuitous. Like when they put her on screen, I'm like, okay, well, the plot's not going to go anywhere for the next 5 minutes. It's time for me to go use the bathroom or whatever. And it's not her fault, but yeah. So sorry, guys, if you didn't know this from previous podcasts, we are gonna, we tend to spend when the show is running. We get excited and we spend a few minutes. So for those of you that have made it this far, so we're almost 15 minutes into the podcast. We are. This is the Counter Show podcast. We are on all your favorite podcast platforms, including the video version over on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/PartsCounterGurus. Or you can find the audio feeds. Just go to our website, partscountergurus.com or partscounterguru.com, and there's a podcast tab. Click on that and get your favorite, Apple, whatever, Spotify. We go into a lot of pop culture, and we always tend to relate it to something in the mobility industry, whether that's cars, trucks, bicycles, motorcycles, one-wheels, hoverboards, I don't know, mobility, right? Whatever.
Mobility. Any propulsion, we're in it.
That's where we live. We have an automotive background. That's always a factor on the show. We tend to tie things into the automotive industry and the economy and that sort of stuff. And today will be no different because I've seen behind the curtain, and Jay already told you guys what's coming up. So now you guys know what to expect. I don't know. I feel like we were told several times by several different people, and when you hear it enough, it becomes kind of like, oh, there might be some truth to that we needed to do a better job of kind of telling people that haven't heard us before what we do. So there you go, everybody. Now you know.
Yeah,
the more
exactly.
you know.
And a mighty fine job you did there, sir. And again, like to reiterate what Keith said, just make sure you hit we're on every, if you listen to podcasts, we're on your platform, trust me. So go find us. And subscribe. It helps us out. Again, youtube.com/PartsCounterGurus. We're on all socials as well. Just go follow us. You'll find us. Just key in the Parts Counter Gurus or the Counter Show, and I bet you we'll pop up somewhere in some conversation. So there you go. Wow, we've had, since the last podcast, which, by the way, congratulations, Keith.
Thanks. For what?
Episode 160.
Yeah.
Who'd ever thought, right?
It's a lot, man.
That's a lot of podcasts, right? And that's not to mention the hundreds and hundreds of videos that we've got. Are you bored on our yet? YouTube channel. No.
Yeah, it's weird. It just doesn't get old.
I think towards the end of last year, we had such a busy season. I felt a little overwhelmed.
Yeah. You guys that don't do this, which, it's not for everybody.
It isn't for everyone.
If you're not in the creator space.
And not everyone should be doing it either.
You're moving a million miles an hour. Like, there's just so much behind the scenes that we have to deal with and think through and plan and make decisions on and work through. And, yeah.
Well, we've got, we have other lives, and
right.
Scheduling is important. Keith and I, we tend to be very fluid with each other when it comes to that. We can make things work. And so, just for an example, to prepare for this show, hey, how about this time? I'm like, okay. And, 24 hours later, we've got a script and we're working on.
Well, that's because it's not podcast 2, episode 2. We kind of know the program format. And, yeah.
We do. We we deserve a pat on that back, man. So there you go. I'm patting you on the back.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
There you go. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and dig into our stories, or our stories. Gosh, can I do a better job? Let's go ahead and dig into the information that we've talked about previously before we got into this.
Sure.
And that is...
You mean before I went on my 20-minute Star Trek diatribe?
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk. So you guys are very aware. We just, modern technology, it's just not a front page news story anymore these days. When something major happens, there's a video camera everywhere. And so not only do we hear about these tragic events, but we get to see them. And it's crazy. And the Baltimore bridge collapse was one of the most incredible visuals on how fragile our infrastructure is that I've ever seen. I mean, I was mind blown that it went down in the manner that it went down and how quickly it went down. But when you realize why that occurred, and what hit it, that's not a small vessel.
Yeah.
And we certainly did not have things in place around that bridge to prevent this from happening.
That's kind of that's just true in life, right? Like, there are exceptions, but it's not a problem until it becomes a problem, right? So, before somebody flew a couple airplanes into the World Trade Center's towers in New York on 9/11, we didn't have the protocols that we have at the airports. Nobody was checking fluid levels or, there were metal detectors and all that, but it wasn't like it is now, right? The screening levels went through the roof, and so, with the plane crashes at the Pentagon and sort of the kind of restricted airspace when, pilots don't respond. And we adjusted. And throughout history, that has happened again and again and again, right? So until somebody tries to do something to a federal building or, and it's not all malicious, right? Like there are times when, there's been gas leaks or tanker leaks or, just disasters, natural disasters, what have you, that just because we'd never had to deal with that before, nobody spent any time with a disaster protocol.
Right.
And so, now we're going to have disaster protocols for this.
We live and learn by our oversights, and it's going to be a big change. I mean, this is such an impactful event, and this is why we wanted to talk about this today. It's not just the people that live in the Baltimore area that are going to be affected by this, and it'll be a trickle down effect economically. It remains to be seen, just like COVID.
The extent of which we have yet to really.
Yeah.
What makes me nervous about this is we don't know what we don't know, and by the time we figure it out, we may be in a recession, because as I like to repeatedly point out on this program, as the automotive industry economy goes, so does the United States economy. That has historically always been true. It may change, but historically speaking, if the automotive industry struggles, the United States economy is closely tied to that.
The very reason why the Biden administration loosened the reins a little bit on the new EPA regulations, that's a very reason for it, because the automotive industry is that and the housing market are so key to our economy, period. So, but here let's talk about, it's not like something like this hasn't ever happened before, Keith.
Right.
I remember this years ago, the Sky Bridge down in Tampa. A similar event happened.
Yeah.
And so when they rebuilt, they put protocol in place for that as well. And I would have hoped that there would have been some sort of investigation into that overall to take a look at all of our bridges. And of course, now this is going to happen. They have to. They cannot stand by and say, well, this is a one-off event.
Right.
We don't really need to do anything other than what's what we're doing. This is going to take a major change in how we operate in these ports. There's a couple things that stood out to me, and I live in an area where there's large amounts of cargo freighters coming through here. These big, huge vessels that are always piloted. And what I found interesting is that there was no pilot on this vessel once it got out of port at a certain distance. You would think that they would have pilots on these vessels until they cleared the harbor completely, and I mean getting under the bridge and out of there. If that had been the case, then they could have avoided this impact. I'm quite certain of that. So. There's just the little things, and again, we live and learn, right? We didn't get to the moon. We didn't get to the moon without making mistakes.
It was not a problem until it became a problem.
Yeah. That's right. So, But this is how massive this is. I mean, and we're probably not telling you anything you haven't heard, but this is automotive specific, and that the amount of vehicles that go in and out of that annually, I think they said around between 750 and 850,000 vehicles every year go through there, and so. And here's something that they said. This month alone, Mazda had the most imports through Baltimore by dollar value, followed by Mercedes-Benz, Subaru, Mitsubishi, and Volkswagen. And of course, that information is provided by Bloomberg. And the bigger question is will this affect and disrupt new vehicle pricing in the future? Will it, because of not being able to get into get product to the manufacturer to complete the build? I mean, just let's look at recent years where we had the COVID factor, where we had production stalled. So this is going to happen. How impactful it will be to our economy remains to be seen, but it will impact it. I would expect to see car prices could go up a little higher on certain vehicles, certain models, depending on where they bring their vehicles in. I mean, for example, like I was surprised at this statistic, Keith. Subaru is actually in greater concentration on the East Coast than it is on the West Coast. And why I said that surprised me is because I see more Subarus out here than I have out east, but I don't frequently get into New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia. So I don't really have – only thing I can go is off statistics, and they're saying the statistics say that Subaru is a big player on the East Coast. So they will be impacted. That brand will be impacted.
How could this not affect pricing? How could it not? I mean, there are very few choices these automotive manufacturers are going to have. Option one is to take a loss, meaning you don't put that cost increase into the price of the car and you just take a hit. And I just don't see that going over well because the shareholders are not going to be happy and the company has to stay profitable.
Right.
Option two is you do put that price increase in the price of a vehicle. I mean, beyond that, what is the third option, right? Like
well, there's going to be production halts. Okay, that is so they can until they can figure out, okay, how do we get the parts to build these vehicles completely? How do we get them to the manufacturer? Granted, look, Baltimore is not the only port on the East Coast. I mean, product comes in through Savannah, Georgia. There are other ports even in the Baltimore area, D.C. area. There's ports even further up the coast, obviously, New York. And then, of course, you've got, the options to come in to the West Coast if needed be. And then haul it by freight or whatever. But they got to look at it's more in line with just in time. I mean, you've heard Keith and I talk about this all the time. Is that suppliers work on a schedule of get it there just in time, because inventory is overhead, so they don't keep a lot of overhead. They don't keep a lot of inventory on hand because of that. It takes up a lot of space. It costs money. So the production lines solely work in unison with how quickly those products can get to the manufacturer so they can build these cars. So there will be an effect. I would expect that there will be some halt on some production just to kind of relax things a little bit, and that costs money. And so there's your impact of pricing. Because anytime you stop production, it costs money.
Right.
They still have to pay their workers. Look at the impacted workers in the harbor itself, on on the docks, the shore hands. All these people, I think they said 80,000 people are impacted there. Some people are already in line for unemployment because there's no work. There's nothing coming in the port right now. So this is a big deal. The bigger deal for me is that I have heard speculation around how long is it going to take to rebuild this thing? I mean, some people were saying 10 years, and I'm thinking to myself, man, we've got to figure it out here. This is a big deal. And the bureaucracy, the red tape that people have to go through to get things done in this country right now, this is why we have the infrastructure problem in this country, period, right now, is because it is such a hassle to get things done.
Yeah.
Period. It is. We are decades behind in maintenance on some of these bridges that need attention. And so the administration has its hands full. Will it happen overnight? I doubt it. I mean, I have ideas on how to avoid that, because the bigger thing is it's only a 50-foot deep channel, right? And so all that material has dropped down into the channel. They've got to remove it.
Right.
And the story is, if they build it back in the same place, then they can't start building it until they remove it. And I had my own speculation on, well, maybe they should just, go ahead and build a brand new and right beside it, and gets working on the thing while you're over here on the other side of it removing this stuff. And then once it's cleared, you've got the bridge already built, and then boom, you're ready. So maybe you can cut that time in half. Hey, man, I'm not a genius.
Yeah,
but I'm looking at practicality here.
There's a nostalgia element, though. And see, that's the hard part, is that bridge is gone. Like,
yeah,
it's gone. It was hundreds of years old. It's gone. They are not going to put it back. It's gone. They will build another one. It won't be that bridge.
It won't be the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
They may call it the same thing.
Maybe.
It's just like, I'm a Cardinals fan, right? Busch Stadium. Like, we're on the third Busch Stadium now, right?
Right.
It's not the same. It's that, yes, there will be a bridge in that place. It will probably have the same name or a very similar name. Mm-hmm. That bridge is gone.
Right.
So the nostalgic side of this is what, unfortunately, is going to, I think, be a factor in some of these decisions, and it maybe shouldn't be as big of a factor as it's going to be, because it is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me just say this for all of you folks out there, how big of an impact to the automotive industry, or actually the car lots, if you go into the dealerships. I think we learned a lot from COVID in regards to getting supplies, the supply chain fulfillment to work. There's plan B, and that plan B is pretty robust because of what we went through with COVID. I think it will be short-lived, but you're going to see a hike or a spike, and then it'll level back out maybe. But anyway, just expect some changes at the cash register.
Yeah.
Not only in the automotive industry, but in other products that go through that port. So there you go. Good luck to you guys in Baltimore. Wish you all the best, and we're pulling for you. So there you go, man. It's just one thing after the other. It's like late. I turned the news on, man. There's earthquakes in Taiwan. There was an earthquake in New York today.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you find it. It was like almost a 5. It was like a 4.8, and it was in Pennsylvania, I think, just outside of Jersey. So things are still coming down with that. We've got this solar eclipse coming around. It's right around the corner, and there's people saying that if you look at the history books, that during a full solar eclipse like this, that there's increase in seismic activity. I don't know if any of that's true. There's a lot of doomsdayers out there, man, that are saying that it's all over, guys. But I don't know. I'm just living this dream, man, and
hopefully
I'm going to keep podcasting.
My Star Trek my Starfleet Academy application gets approved in time that I can just be on a shuttlecraft somewhere.
Hey, is there a buddy system with that? Sure. Get on there with you. So
one thing that I did not think we would still be talking about over a year, almost a year and a half after his death, because celebrities make the news if they pass away, and depends on who it was, but there's varying levels of they don't stay in the conversation cycles or the media cycles for months and months and months and months usually, right?
Right.
Ken Block has somehow posthumously remained relevant. And a lot of that has to do with his family and the Hoonigan crew that he works so closely with. And so, yet again, Ken has made news headlines. This time around, there's a couple cool things that we have to talk about. So,
Very cool.
If you don't know who Ken Block is, the Hoonigan crew, and if you've ever seen a Hoonigan sticker on a car, that's what we're talking about here, compiled a video. It's on YouTube, free to watch. It's over 2 hours long, and it is a compilation of all of Ken's.
I started watching it, dude.
Yeah, it's good.
Dude, absolutely it is. I mean, the guy was amazing.
Yeah,
the guy was absolutely amazing, man. And he just did this he just wanted to see. He started doing this, right, just to see how far he could push a vehicle, and it just started trending, and so he built this empire,
right.
But he was a marketing genius, dude.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he was really good at marketing. I mean, the co-founder of DC Shoes, stuff like that, and he made a fortune off that, and just started doing this. And sorry I stepped on you there.
No,
but
it's all good.
I'm just as excited about this. I love that they're keeping his name and his spirit alive in this manner. And you'll get into that a little bit deeper here momentarily. But his family has been
we will, yeah.
awesome.
So we'll put a link to the video, and even if you just pick and choose moments in it, you'll get the idea of who he is.
You're not going to just pick and choose moments, trust me. You're going to want to watch the whole thing.
So, it's a movie,
badass.
man. Yeah, so go check that out. We'll link to it in the show notes, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll put it in the description. His family. So Ken passed away 2 Novembers ago, right? Or was it December? It was December.
It was December.
Yeah.
We met him in November at SEMA.
So 2 Decembers ago.
Yeah.
And his wife, this time around, they're doing a charity auction with some of his memorabilia that...
The KB43 Foundation or something like that? Or is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah. So Lucy, right? Lucy, I think, is his wife's name. Because he has a daughter that is racing and just recently did a Pikes Peak challenge, and she's out. She's great.
Hell of a driver, man.
Doing her own
hell
thing.
Of a driver. Yeah.
But his wife, in this case, we're talking about, who is doing the charity auction. Right. And I just love that, they're all still wearing Ken's brand, the Just Ain't Care shirt.
Right. I love it, man. I love it. I want a shirt that says, that's his best quote, I think, of all time is, "Don't be an asshole." Right.
Yeah. So stuff that they've used in the video that we were just talking about, that's up for auction. Things like burnt clutches, sequential gearboxes,
hoodies, limited edition hoodies.
Yeah. It's all stuff you either have seen on screen or you've seen him drive, or parts out of the stuff. And they show you sometimes the outtakes are just as good as the actual feed itself when things don't go as planned and those cars end up getting broken.
That's right.
Right? So, in fact, I just realized I could put some of this on screen and...
so you could do that, and I'm just going to read a few items off for you real quick. And this is if you want a piece of Ken Block. I mean, this is stuff that was physically, attached to him in a way. A vehicle that he drove, like for example, there's a turbo hot side from the Ford Fiesta, the RX-43 Rallycross car in the 2015 series. For $345 is where the auction starts. You've got sequential transmission gears from the Hoonigan 6 damaged by Gymkhana 7. I mean, you can own that. It's $405 is where the bidding starts. It's something like this. This is so funny. Ken Block and Felipe Pantone phone case box set. Starts at $103.50. Gymkhana 5 panoramic photo print shot by Mike Blaibach.
People are going to go nuts for this stuff, man.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're a fan of Ken Block, you want a piece of history, here you go. I mean, it's so cool that they're doing it. I mean, we're talking for example, 1552 wheel from Gymkhana 10 Spark, the Spark segment, $760 is what it starts at right now. It's got 45 bids, and there's 7 days and 17 hours at this point. So what is today? So is it the 12th when it stops?
It'll be right April, about the time. Yeah. So
yeah, April 12th. Yeah. So
I will do my best to get this out before bidding ends.
So check this out: Ken Block Ford Fiesta RS WRC front bumper from the 2015 season. It's on the auction block for $1,675 is where it starts at, right? So you got a driver's suit. His Alpenstars race suit, the Galactic livery, almost $2,600 is where it starts. Fenders, damaged wheels and tire sets. I mean, I love it. I mean, and that's it. It's a piece of Ken Block, man. He had a hand on each one of these items, so it's a big deal for his fan base. And again, it's for charity. It benefits charity and his foundation, which is going to help people do the things that he loved. And so I'm all about that, man. And it's fantastic, and I think it's awesome that this is continuing to go in the direction that's going to carry on that tradition that Ken so much loved, man. I mean, the guy had huge kahunas, man.
Well, and the fact that his family's still doing this is just proof that he lived by his own motto of, because if he was an asshole, they would just be like, glad he's gone, like moving on, right?
Right. And to hear his wife say, that he was such a humble guy, man. And they didn't know what they were getting into with this stuff. They were just doing it for fun.
Right.
He's a content creator, man. And he liked creating content, and then it turned into what it is. And it became an empire, a series. And right down to his last minute, man, he was doing what he loved doing. And it's, obviously the world of racing is saddened because of his loss, but at the same time, we've got a lot to look at. And again, like the video, the 2-hour video, you have to watch it, man. If you've never seen any of that stuff, man, you want to see what an amazing driver this guy was, you got to go for it.
Yep.
You got to go for it. So anyway, anything else and exciting you want to add on that?
No, I'm just, as always, I love seeing the Hoonigan brand carry on and the family can carry on and the legacy continue. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we'll be talking about it. So stay tuned.
Just so you guys know, this next segment will not be a legacy to carry on. So
right.
Yeah. And boy, do we got some bad news.
Well, if you're a Fisker,
I had high hopes for them, man. I was really hoping that they could, they need to quit spending all the money on the hookers, man. I mean, the bottom line. I mean, they have misappropriated funds. Can't find them. I mean, they're trying to find payments that people made on these cars. They can't even account for it in some cases.
Does this remind you of DeLorean a little bit?
Very much so. I thought of the same thing, man, whenever I saw this going down. And it was like, wow. And the problems aren't just that. I mean, the vehicle itself has turned out to be a bit of a nightmare. So anyway, long story short, Fisker is in some very, very bad trouble right now. They are no longer on the New York Stock Exchange. They're on OTC, but they have basically lost just about everything they have. Edmunds, whom I think most of you guys are familiar with, they bought one for their fleet back in January.
So Edmunds being the car company, you go look at car reviews or pricing information, both new and used, or just information about cars that's
like us,
considered neutral. Right. Yeah. If we were writing factual information on, if you wanted to learn more about the 2024 Toyota Camry, you could go to Edmunds and read all about it. But you would get that information from an objective person, not Toyota, right? Who's just trying to sell you one. So there you go. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it's an opinion piece basically, which everybody has their own opinion. But I mean, these guys, this is what they do. I mean, they physically buy the vehicle and they put it in their fleet, and they test drive the thing for a while, and then they give their review on it. And so that's what they did here. But this is pretty bad. Okay, so they paid $69,000 for this Fisker Ocean.
Okay, now the Ocean was the SUV, right?
That is the SUV,
yep.
Correct.
Okay.
And that was in January. At this point, because Fisker is in such financial disarray, they're having to unload inventory at dirt cheap prices. They dropped the price of that thing to down $39,000 to $21,000 is what that vehicle is valued at right now. And if I am someone who is an owner of that, or I am someone who has a reservation for one, hopefully you can get your money back.
You would hope.
Because they got problems, pal. Yeah. When you look at the number of issues that they have from a quality standpoint, which is the doors not opening at times.
Well, they're just not made well. They're
not made well at all.
They were cutting corners in production, and now we know why, right?
Right. I mean, you could physically get locked out of your vehicle because of the problems that they're having. You've got Edmunds said with this vehicle that they had to hard reset this thing. Of course, you can do it by there's a couple of points on the steering wheel where you reboot it like an iPhone or any smartphone. It's a computer, man. I mean, it's got its software on it. It has to get rebooted occasionally.
To be fair, I've had to do that on Ford's rental cars.
Yeah,
like
I've
had
through the same
a
thing.
Ford Edge. It had no knobs or dials anywhere. It was all basically that main central control screen, and the climate control system kept going just bonkers. The heated seats wouldn't turn off, and I mean, I've had that happen on several Ford rental cars. So, I know. I guess my point is, it can happen. This is one of the downsides to just going with everything being centralized electronic control. It does seem like Fisker's having more of a regular problem with this issue.
Yeah, this vehicle has had numerous issues, and this couldn't come at a worse time for them. I mean, the misappropriation of the funds itself. I mean, that people are jumping off ship, man. They're right. Not. We're not on board with you anymore. Right. I mean, how many times have we seen this before? Who were we just talking about? We had the whole the guys up in Ohio.
Oh, well,
Lordstown.
Yeah, you had Lordstown. You had the Nikola thing, which got weird for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, you go back, like, this has gone on generation after, I mean, come on, dude. DeLorean, like, running coke in the, on the side.
Yeah,
like,
this is what happens when you have a startup situation, right? I mean, things are not watched very closely, and some people just don't handle their business very well, and this is the case right here. The fact that when I read into this, and they're struggling just to find receipts where they received funds or payments from customers. They're struggling to find it. They can't find it. It's like lost. It's misplaced. This is not a good thing, man. It's not a good look. So, but like I said, Edmunds took their vehicle and had CarMax appraise this thing, and it was so funny when I saw that. And it's $21,000 appraisal offer. That's what CarMax offered him for the vehicle.
Not it's good.
Yeah, that quick. And here's the other side of that, though. Edmunds physically came out and says, based on their driving of the vehicle, what issues they had with it, they say while significantly lower prices might be compelling to you, they can't stress it enough, do not buy a new Fisker Ocean. They over and over again stress, don't buy one.
Are they done? Is Fisker done? Is this the final nail in the coffin?
This is it. Yep. I don't think Fisker's going to be around. I mean, there's been way too many issues that have happened that are very similar with these guys. I mean,
Right.
it's the whole karma thing, and and that whole debacle, and there you go. So,
I mean, if they clean house and bring in a whole new leadership panel and make some radical changes, maybe, but that requires more investor buy-in, renewed faith in the company, and who's going to take that risk?
Right. My new name for him, Fisher.
Fisher, nice, yeah.
Yeah, big crack in that one somewhere.
Well,
man.
as one of our
maybe-
commenters, I'll end this segment with this.
I love it.
You know,
I love it.
you remember the one somebody left a
yeah.
comment when we saw
Yeah.
one of these at SEMA,
Yeah.
and they said, "Who doesn't love a good fisking?" You know,
Right.
Like,
Right, man. Oof. Oh, man. So, well, maybe Elon can buy the company and turn it around. Why not, right? We'll see what happens. So, wow, man. We're just loaded with information today. Now, this is some exciting news. We talked about Toyota a little bit on the last podcast, with their strong push of hybrid vehicles. I think they may be the hottest chick in the room right now, man.
they're looking good.
They're looking good,
yeah.
so we've got a major new reveal that's going to be occurring on the 9th of April.
Yep.
And the new 2025 Toyota 4Runner will be revealed.
You know who's excited about this? I think is it just shows you how much people love Toyota. Current 4Runner owners are excited about it.
Well, they should be, because
my
it's
sister sent me. She's like all up in it, and I'm like, but wait, you do realize this is going to make the value, your resale value of the current models go down, right? They don't care. It's like, well, it's Toyota, man.
It's good. Well, let me just say this. I mean, the Toyota brand, the Tacoma, the 4Runner, those two vehicles alone, I mean, to this day, I mean, my father-in-law has a, I think it's an 85. I mean, like one of the Back to the Future Toyota Tacomas, right? Or was it?
Yeah,
it was before it was called Tacoma, right?
That is the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was over helping them out recently, and they had
sell
some.
It?
Well, that's the thing. No, he doesn't want to sell. It's a family. He's the only owner of that thing, dude.
I'll take it off his hands if he's, How many miles? How many miles he got on it?
Oh, under 100,000, man.
Yeah. Come on. It's just sitting there.
It's just sitting there. I mean, they drive it occasionally.
Is this Dennis?
Especially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Dennis. Sooner or later, you're going to have to part with that thing. I think, wouldn't it look great with a PCG sticker on the... I'm just saying, Okay, sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it's good. That's good. No, you're right. Trust me. There's a couple of dibs on it, man. It's there's been discussions surrounding that. But what was funny was they had hired some folks to come in and help them, along with me being over there to kind of help them orchestrate the whole process. And two of the guys walked by it and says, "Wow, man,
yeah,
is that thing for sale?"
Yeah, I mean, manual locking hubs. If it's the 4-wheel drive model,
it is.
Is it the manual or automatic?
It's an automatic. It even has air conditioning in it.
Yeah,
but it's extended cab.
Yeah.
So it's a nice a nice truck.
Which is cool, but it's that long.
Right.
Fold down jump seats and
it's not like what you see today. So anyway,
if you're over the age of 8, it's not comfortable in that back seat.
Right. So the 2025 Toyota 4Runner will be revealed, and here's what we know so far. For those of you who love the back glass, the tailgate glass being automatic and sliding down, it's still got it, because we've seen some portions of the vehicle revealed, and so the back glass will slide down.
I'm a huge fan of that. I had an 86 4Runner. It had, even back in 86, you had that remote like back window button that you could bring it up and down.
When I first saw the first leaked image before they even went through this, now that right there, Keith, what you're showing, that's actually an Instagram post. You can probably run that. And
I tried. It won't play.
Okay, that's fine.
Because what he does is he brings the window down, and then you see April 9th.
Right.
Yeah.
And guys, if you want to, you just go to Toyota's Instagram page and you'll see this. They it's over there, and they're giving us little tidbits, leading up to the major reveal.
Well, you see the back end. The back end is similar, right?
Yep, it is. There's some. What I see here is, and you knew they were doing this. This thing is going to be built on the Tacoma platform. Period.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Shocker.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've even, if you zoom in on some of these pictures, and I've done it, if you compare, and I just recently rented a Tacoma.
I'm gonna break our feed trying, but yeah, go. Yeah.
So I recently rented a new Tacoma, and one of the things that I was really excited about is some of the tech that they have in the cab now. And also, the size of the infotainment system screen, just some of the little, the nice things, So they've really kind of upped their game there, for the in-cabin experience. And when I started looking at the images of the interior, the limited amount that we had, I swear to you, man, it looks like what you can expect on the interior of the 4Runner is going to be what you see in the new redesigned Tacoma as well. So I think that's what you're going to be looking at. Of course, I don't have anything to show you on the back end other than what's been revealed. They've got that C-pillar, that big C-pillar. And I've seen some, in the current one, that big, huge, it's notorious C-pillar, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the renderings of this vehicle, supposedly how it's going to look, and that traditional C-pillar is not really there. So I'm kind of hoping that you'll get more window back there and get rid of that C-pillar. But
it's not going to be radically different than the current generation. And
no,
we already know that because we've seen pictures of just from that back shot.
Yeah.
Like the back tailgate is similar. Yeah, yes. There will be some changes. They're smart though. They're not going to just go drastically different because that 4Runner is a cornerstone of Toyota's SUV market even today, and it's a brick in the wind, but people don't care.
People don't care, man. I mean, I see a lot of 4Runners around here, and they are so well taken care of, man. And they are just racked out. They've got, it's just, they're an awesome vehicle for what what they are. But here's the thing.
I rented one and drove it cross country last summer when we were doing our thing together, and it was a blast. I just cared nothing at all about like fuel economy in that thing, and it wasn't bad.
Well, let's face it. If you're in one for fuel economy, you don't buy it. I wanted to see it. So yeah, it's been the current one that you see, it other than some minor changes here and there, it's been 15 years that we've been waiting for this to happen. And so I know you're when you said your sister's even on it, they have to be, because everybody has anticipated a change to the 4Runner. It's been such a quality build for them over the years. There will be changes though, and I am understanding that, like I said, it makes sense for them to be on the same platform as the Tacoma, and with that, they're using the same engine platforms as well. So you're probably not going to see the big, V6s like you're used to. You're gonna be equipped with the 2.4. I think it is a turbo 2.4.
That's not a guess. That's based on what you have seen, Jay, happening with the other vehicles like the Land Cruiser, and on the Lexus side, they're bigger Lexus SUVs where they've just done away with the V8.
Right.
Right. Toyota is going smaller engines in their entire across the lineup. So why would it be any different in the 4Runner?
That's right, and it makes total sense again for them to, when you are building a lot of different vehicles, if you can use similar platforms for say 3 of the models,
Yep.
That saves a lot of cost. Because you're not building plants specific for one vehicle.
Right.
Let's face it. Corvette is kind of a unicorn, if you will. They are what they are, and that's why they have their only plant that they build that thing in. But
it's also a $100,000 car, and there's a price that goes along with having to do it that way.
Absolutely, it's a VIP vehicle. I think you could consider it that. So now let me ask you a question. You being the fan of Toyota and Lexus that you are, and I know that you are. What's your thought on the redesign and the direction that they have now gone with the Tacoma and now the 4Runner right behind it?
So you and I have both seen the station wagon years, which was like what, late 90s, something like that, where they took that 4Runner and basically turned it into a before crossovers were a thing.
Right.
Toyota tried to turn the 4Runner into a crossover-looking vehicle.
Yeah.
And that did not sit well with me.
Work.
And it didn't work well because the audience that would typically buy those don't want that. They want an off-road vehicle. Mm-hmm. So, assuming this is going the way it looks to be going, and again, because of the Tacoma, we have an idea. I think it's as good of a direction as you can go, and still be competitive. Meaning, you've got to be cost competitive.
Absolutely, you do, and you also have to meet the strict EPA regulations that are in place, and this helps them with their reducing displacements.
I mean, the only downside is I can see people saying, well, it may not be as big as they wanted. Well, but they have bigger. Okay, so then don't buy that.
Cruiser.
Yeah, go buy the Land Cruiser.
Yeah, go buy the Tundra.
Right. So I sort of feel like that's where this could go. People could go, but look at previous generations, they were a little bigger, right? Because that's the thing with the new platform is we suspect this 4Runner to fit on that platform, it might lose some interior space, right?
Right.
But I don't think it'll be a big deal.
No, I don't either. What I do see coming with this is I think you'll also have a Trail Hunter version.
Oh yeah.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And so, Toyota got really smart with what they offer. They were paying attention to the overlanding crowd, and they also knew, the loyal following that they had. Period. Anyway, the 4Runner and the Tacoma are 2 vehicles that they're out there, man. They've been out there, like the Jeep, and so and if if you don't think that automakers are interested in what we're doing in our everyday lives, I mean, go ask Ford why they bring the Bronco back, and
right,
that was to directly compete with what Jeep was really getting into.
Yeah, and so I mean, you don't see any of those Broncos out in the wild at all, do you, Jay? I mean, they're just not there. I mean, it's been at least 5 minutes since I've seen one on the street. Like, what a horrible idea that was, I
mean, even to the extent of you look at what Cybertruck is trying to do. You look at what Rivian did with their first electric pickup truck, which is its thing is built to go off-road.
Right.
I mean, and that was so they're paying attention, and Toyota is no different than any other manufacturer out there. They pay attention to what their audience, to their demographic, and what people are really looking forward to. And I think this is going to be a hit out of the park for them as well. I think the Tacoma was. I tell you what, when you see a new Tundra coming down the highway, it's a Tundra,
right?
Man. I mean, I like the redesign on the Tundra as well. So kudos to Toyota for doing it right. Now, April 9 is the big reveal. Keith and I will try to be on top of that, and so be looking on the next podcast. We'll probably bring you some more photos as it is revealed. If not, if we don't have something for you here on the podcast, make sure you stay tuned to our YouTube channel. We will sometimes do a quick short video on a reveal So go to partscounterguru.com and you can click on any icon there like YouTube or anything like, to go to our socials, wherever. You're going to find a way to get to our YouTube channel, or otherwise just go to youtube.com/partscountergurus and make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that baby, hit the like button, please, because that helps support us. And it also will help continue to keep us in the algorithm.
Did you know, I think I may have told you this, YouTube has started implementing AI.
I saw it.
If you say things like smash the like button, it animates the little like button.
I saw it the other day on one of our competitors.
Yeah.
When I was watching, I said, that's pretty cool. That makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah, just in case you guys didn't already know where the subscribe button is, you just keep just watching.
It's all you have to do is we say the word subscribe and it lights up. It's kind of weird, right?
Right. Abracadabra.
Yeah.
Right?
Alexa, enter auto destruct mode.
Right, man.
Initiate auto destruct sequence, right? Yeah.
So, man, doggone, good for Toyota. I'm stoked. I can't wait for the complete reveal. I'm pretty pumped. And obviously that will be the trending topic for a week.
Yeah.
During that time. So stay tuned to us, please, and we'll keep you informed as we go along. So we're going to bring you back to something that Keith brought to the table in our last podcast. A little bit of a lawsuit that was happening.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
I do. And I was just at the Universal theme park in Florida last month. So I'm going to basically summarize this with a little bit of a paraphrasing just to keep the story, focused. But, Universal Studios, who that's the movie house that released Back to the Future. Okay. When that initially happened, they basically signed a deal to use that DeLorean, and they paid royalties for use of that trademark name and the vehicle and all that, which you have to do in some of these movies because it's their likeness, right? So DeLorean went bankrupt. John DeLorean died. DeLorean went bankrupt. That doesn't mean they went out of business. Bankruptcy and going out of business are not the same thing. Filing bankruptcy just means it's a legal filing to protect you against creditors, to allow you to basically follow a repayment plan without them just breaking your door down, so to speak.
You're basically giving you the grace period to restructure what you're doing, right?
So another group of investors bought the rights and likeness to DeLorean. They are calling themselves DeLorean Motor Company. So DeLorean is still in existence. It's no longer John DeLorean. He's dead. But
can I bring up one thing real quick? If you don't, and sorry to break in on
go
you.
Ahead.
And you had the opportunity to interview the guy at SEMA recently. We got it on video, so make sure you go over.
Yeah.
They've modernized. They've got these kits to modernize the old version, and then of course the new Alpha came out last year as well, which is a totally different segment of that. But they are related in a way.
It's the same company.
It's
right?
the same company. But please, guys, go and watch that video. It's very interesting. Keith did a great job with the interview.
He hated my time travel joke. He was so put out by that, man.
But I think once he got past that, he realized, oh my God, this guy is a fan of the DeLorean. And so that's why I appreciate it so much. So
thanks.
Your knowledge of the DeLorean is beyond mine.
Almost bought one.
You almost bought one. I remember having the discussion. You were saying, should I buy it or what do you think? But anyway, long story short, please go over to our YouTube channel and look for that video over there. Keith did a fantastic job. So thank you, and I'm sorry I broke in on your train of thought there.
No, so just to basically carry what Jay was saying forward, they're making new versions of DeLorean. It's not just one car anymore. And even the old, which we all refer to as the DMC-12, that badge was never on the actual DeLorean, but DMC-12 is what it's commonly referred to.
Right.
DeLorean Motor Company official will offer you some upgrade packages that Jay was just talking about that we did videos on. So there are different versions of this vehicle out. So interestingly enough, Universal used their legal right to DeLorean in a lot of different ways. I mean, you got the time machine version in the first Back to the Future movie, and then that changed in the second one and the third one, and then other movies have referenced it that Universal owns, like Ready Player One, and so on and so forth, right? And there's been collectibles, memorabilia. You go buy the toy. If you go buy the Lego, Universal licensed that, right? Like the Back to the Future Lego DeLorean. All the toys and props and replicas and all that stuff, right? And so DeLorean Motor Company basically, and I think it was like 2 years ago now in 2022, went lawyered up and went, yeah, you're not paying us enough, guys. When we made this deal, we didn't know it would be this big, so we want more. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but that's basically what happened, right?
Right.
And so what we know is that lawsuit was settled. It's because it was settled out of court. It's confidential. Neither party is going to tell you what the terms of the settlement were, which is common in these cases. And, we can only wonder, but I heavily speculate that DeLorean is now getting a bigger piece of the pie, and I mean DeLorean Motor Company, on royalties from use of their car.
I cannot see how it would benefit Universal anyway to not be cooperative in that agreement. And here's why. Because it could get ugly and look bad on Universal, and who's going to buy the merchandise now? I mean, DeLorean could say, you got to cease and desist, you can't do it. So
not only
win-win.
that, they could make him take the movie out of
Absolutely.
all the streaming catalogs.
Right.
And
if you don't think that can't happen, it can happen. And I mean, I'll give you a fine example. Van Halen, the last album that they did, they brought back David Lee Roth, and Wolfgang played bass on it. It was called A Different Kind of Truth.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good album myself.
Yeah.
But because one individual in the band says he's not happy with the album, which that would be David Lee Roth. And if you look on the album, there's David Lee Roth management, there's Van Halen management all involved. So there's separate contracts. There's all kinds of different things in there. But because Dave doesn't agree that it's a decent album, you can't stream it anymore. You can't find it on Apple Music. You can't stream it. It's just not there. And that is because Dave is not in agreement with the rest of the parties involved. So that could have definitely happened to Universal, and it would be a bigger chunk of money gone versus a minor,
right,
lift in profits for the ones who deserve it.
And I'm sure everybody knew that, and they looked at it and just said, yeah, it's the right thing to do. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, Universal, good job. You guys did the right thing, period. So, and by the way, if anybody would like to come on from DeLorean to talk about, how the new versions are coming along, we'd love to have you. So, sure. DeLorean Motor Company, if you guys are interested in coming on our podcast, you know how to get a hold of us.
PartsCounterGuru.com. There's literally a tab for that. What's it? Contact us or ask us a question.
Contact us or ask us a question or something like that. Yeah. I mean, that stands for anybody. I mean, it doesn't have to just be anyone from DeLorean. I mean, it can be you, Elon. We'd love to have you. Just anytime. Just say that it's time, and we'll get you on. All you got to have is a phone with a camera. We can get you.
Who doesn't have one of those now, right?
Right. Just get your AirPods out or whatever pods you have, and let's go. P-Pods, AirPods, whatever. So
T-Pods.
T-Pods. Yeah.
T for Tesla. I don't know.
T for Tesla. Yeah.
A little bit of a stretch there.
X-Pods.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would make more sense.
Yeah. There you go. So, well, congrats to DeLorean, and that, my friends, draws us to a conclusion of today's
made it all
episode.
The way through that segment without making the joke that if they would have just used the time machine to go back and negotiate the deal correctly in the first place.
That's great, man. I love it.
I mean,
I love it. Yes, that's
literally had the car to do that.
Yes, they could have. Yeah. It's so great to see that car still just, out there. I mean, it's still at big auto shows. The original DMC-12, still at big auto shows. We interviewed a guy, it was at PRI in Indianapolis a couple of years ago, who had one that he had converted over to an EV, which was really cool. And it had a flux capacitor on it.
Yep.
It was fun to watch. That was a fun interview, too.
Yep. There's a company in Florida that builds those conversion kits specifically for the DeLoreans.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right, my friend. So, with that in hand, you ready to take us out of here, pal?
I am.
Okay.
You guys, please continue to support the show. Jay mentioned just a few minutes ago how you can do that. It's all over on our website. If you are looking for discounts, those are also listed, all those codes in the show specials tab. And that does help us keep doing what we're doing. So just a reminder there, you guys are going to spend the money anyway.
Well, there's one brand in particular they might want to go check out.
Who would that be, Jay?
Aventon.
And they make DeLoreans?
Yeah. No, so right now, man, they have partnered with GoPro.
Yeah.
So it's the Aventon and GoPro mountain games that you can go to.
Aventon is a e-bike manufacturer.
That's exactly right.
All kidding aside. Jay has one.
Right. I do have one. And they happen to be a brand partner of ours. So go to our website.
And they're good bikes, too.
They are. You go to our website, and you need to do this before April the 25th, and click on the link there, and then look for the Aventon GoPro Mountain Games tab to enter the sweepstakes. Do that and buy a bike while you're there. That'll help us.
What will I win when I win? Because I'm going to just enter like 500.
You get a chance to win a 3-night VIP experience, GoPro athlete gift bags, competition entries.
Oh, so there's more than just one winner. Okay.
Yeah. Competition entries,
well, I like
an
these
Aventon
odds.
Ramblas e-bike, and a GoPro camera. So there you go. Some cool stuff, man. It's always fun. And, these days and times, it totally makes sense for GoPro to partner with these guys for this giveaway because it's more and more people are getting out there and just strapping a GoPro on and getting out there and creating content. I mean, we do it. That's what we do. So we don't always use GoPros, but we do have GoPros. So GoPro, hey, if you want to be a sponsor of our podcast, you are more than welcome to give us a ring as well. So there you go.
We don't always use GoPros, but we will.
Absolutely. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Send us a couple of those.
Yeah. I like where you're going with that.
Right on. So.
Heck, man, let's shoot the next podcast on GoPro. If you guys are listening, I'll commit to that. It's possible. We can do it. We'll pull it off.
We have the technology.
Yeah.
So there you go. Right on. So sorry about that. You were talking about all of our brand partners over there on our website.
I'm done.
I appreciate it. Are you done?
Your timing is impeccable. It was
okay. Great.
Dovetailed in there quite nicely.
I've enjoyed today, sir.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you very much. So take us out of here, pal.
It's good to be doing that. All right.
Yeah. All right.
This is a quick one. Thank you guys, as always, for making us a regular part of your lives. Live today like you will die tomorrow. Learn like you will live forever.
Ooh.
For my pal Jay over there, I'm Keith. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one. And done.
All right.
I got to get a new computer.